अस्सलाम वालेकुम बासित, क्या हाल है? अस्सलाम वालेकुम बासित।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
How?
कैसी हैं शुआज़ आप?
ठीक है, शुक्र। बासित, is anyone else joining?
I'm not sure.
Can you please help Dr. Maryam? I don't know, it's not letting her in without a passport. आपसे कोई passport तो नहीं मांगा था?
नहीं,
I don't know what's happening. मैंने settings भी check कर ली हैं दोबारा. Can you please help her?
लेट मी चेक।
Please, thank you.
मैं दोबारा ज्वाइन करके देखता हूँ।
ठीक
पिछली बार तो उसने मुझसे पासवर्ड नहीं मांगा।
has also joined us. अस्सलाम वालेकुम मीसम, क्या हाल है? अस्सलाम वालेकुम मीसम,
शाम।
क्या हाल है?
अल्लाह करमा, बताएं ठीक ठाक।
बस एक थोड़ी सी ग्लिच आ रही है। वो ग्लिच ये आ रही है कि डॉक्टर मरियम नहीं कनेक्ट कर पा रही somehow. Everybody else is able to connect. उनका कनेक्शन नहीं हो पा रहा establish. So I'm trying to make it happen.
आई कुडंट हियर यू। मरियम, डॉक्टर मरियम ज्वाइन नहीं कर पा रही।
हाँ मरियम, मैं बता रही हूँ आपको कि डॉक्टर मरियम को जो है वो कनेक्ट करने में डिफिकल्टी हो रही है। उनसे पासपोर्ट मांग रहे हैं। अब आप लोग, आपसे तो पासपोर्ट नहीं मांगा था ना?
नहीं नहीं, कोई नहीं मांग रहा पासपोर्ट। यही लिंक दोबारा भेजें जो आपने व्हाट्सएप किया हुआ है, वही लिंक भेजें कि इससे लॉग इन करना
जी
है।
वही किया है अभी।
शुड नॉट बी आस्किंग दैट।
Yep. Yes.
Hello,
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Dr. Mariam?
I'm fine. I don't know, पहले वो लिंक मांग रहा था, लेकिन जो अब आपने लिंक भेजा उस पे नहीं था। Are these links the same?
Yeah, they are same. Maybe there was some glitch of connectivity or something like that.
Okay.
So I think let's wait for 5 minutes for other people to join and then we'll start.
ठीक है।
I think we should start. So first of all, Dr. Mariam, thank you so much for joining us in the webinar today. It's an honor to have your presence with us. Being a project manager myself, I'm always encountering different unique challenges on daily basis. Hence, we selected the topic of transformation from waterfall to agile to answer questions of so many people who are working in this field and who are not familiar how to transit. So can you please shed some light? Can you please shed some light on this from your perspective, and then we will go forward with the questions.
I think if we look at the topic itself, transition of from waterfall to agile, I think it's a challenge that a lot of companies still in Pakistan are facing, because if I look at like the international community, they've already had this. They already faced the challenges they had to face, and now they've either decided that waterfall is for them or incremental model is for them. They've decided on a strategy to move forward with them. However, like the industry of Pakistan is quite new, and it's still learning. So we still, like in every day, we hear companies that are facing this transition. They're asking this question that should they adopt agile, or they shouldn't adopt agile, or they should look at agile, or what other opportunities are there. So I think it's as you said, like a lot of companies have these questions and they're still looking for answers.
Okay, thank you so much. That was so insightful. There's one question before we go down to the questions we have selected for this webinar. There's one thing I would like to know is that does it happen that organizations are in the perspective, or they are believing that they are agile, however, they are just using some modified versions of waterfall?
I think especially when you're early on, like when you're transitioning towards agile, then you are in the middle of different methodologies. Like, they're just not only waterfall and agile are just two methodologies, two life cycles, but there are other life cycles as well. So what they're doing, they're having like a flavor of moving from a pure waterfall to an iterative incremental model without completely, taking all of the risks that are involved in it. So I do think, yeah, they are picking and choosing between what they want to do, what they want to try. And I think at the start, that's the right approach, because if you like take a company that's completely from waterfall and shift it like 100, like just shift it all around to agile, it'll fail. It is most likely to fail because it's too many changes happening at once. So it's a good approach to take it as, gradually as you can, because that's how transition is supposed to happen, and that's why it's called transition, and it's not called a shift. Like, we're not shifting from waterfall to agile, we're taking, like, we are transiting through the life cycles.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. One thing I would like to highlight at this point is that once we go through the selection of questions by the host, we'll be taking up questions from our audience as well. So should they have any questions during the webinar, please jot it down, and we'll have 5-10 minutes dedicated only for your Q&As. So Dr. Maryam, my first question is, and something that has intrigued me, given that I've worked on waterfall as well as on agile, why is it being considered that waterfall is no longer effective?
When you sent me this question, I wanted to answer it there, to correct it actually. It's not that waterfall isn't effective. You have to, while you're doing a project, or when you get like you've said, you've done a project with waterfall and you've done with agile, and still till date, projects are using waterfall as well. It's not like outdated or it's not canceled, it's still there. And the reason for that is that not every project has innovation, and not every project has that uniqueness that you need to put a lot of effort in planning and, in agile, and putting the cost of agile with it. Some projects are very, like, straightforward. Like, it's a management system. You just close your eyes and build a management system. We have built millions of them. We can build one more without, having any problems with it. So I would still say waterfall is still there, and there's still a need for it, but you just have to identify for what kind of project you need to use it for. Likewise, agile isn't for, like, for every project, agile is not a fit. Like, and for every team, agile is not a fit. Like, agile is not for all. Like, when we talk about agile, we say it's a game of experts. We can't just say everyone is an expert and everyone can be an agile team, or everyone can be a self-organizing team, and, just obsolete waterfall as it is. So I would still say, like, we can't say it's not efficient. It's just you have to pick and choose based upon the type of the project that you're using it for.
Okay, so this question, the next question that I have is, it's definitely not from the list that we have discussed earlier, but it is something that just came to my mind while you were talking. You see that the economic position of Pakistan, especially the IT industry, is now growing very
Yeah,
rapidly, and we are seeing a lot of startups that are becoming a part of this industry. So what
yeah.
would you suggest in your light of experience, that is it beneficial for startups to start with Agile, or should they do some groundwork on Waterfall, shift to Waterfall and Agile, and then transition completely into Agile?
Then it again depends. Like, are you a team of experts? Are the players that like, you can be a startup but have people on your team with 10, 20 years of experience? Then sure, go ahead with Agile. But if you're a very young team with undergraduates who have never actually built a commercial project, then I would say, let's take the traditional approach, learn from experience and experts, and build upon it. Because, like, whenever, even if you look at Agile manifesto, and if we talk about Agile as a whole, we always say it's a game of experts, not a game of layman. It's not a game of hit and trial. It's not a game of fresh graduates. It's a game of people who have their hands dirty in development for 5 to 10 years, and now they can foresee, okay, how development is supposed to happen, and then you move forward with that.
Okay, wonderful. That's really great. So coming back to my question is that, okay, while this is so true that having experts on board on team is very effective and very successful, but what we have observed in different organizations is that although we have the top leadership of experts, the people who are working over there are freshers. So do you think that a knowledge transfer is necessary, where there should be classroom instructions or classroom workshops conducted for the experienced people to transfer that knowledge of Agile to the young team members, so that we all can move forward in the same direction? How important do you think workshops and classroom orientations are?
If I'll be honest, like, being part of Pakistan Agile Society as well, as you know, I'm the chairperson of this society as well. We do a couple of workshops and a couple of trainings as well. So classroom environment, not really, because obviously I'm an associate professor, so I know the kind of environment we provide in a classroom. But I think hands-on experience and giving hands-on workshop and transferring knowledge hands-on basis, that's more effective than just having a classroom environment of just a person coming and giving slides or a talk about it. It's better than you need to show how to do it rather than just talk about it.
Okay, that's really great. That's something it's like something I wanted to hear from an expert, so that I can, pitch the idea. The classrooms are not a perfect way of showing people how to work. We have to model it out to them. So
Because in
my
classroom, we're teaching them, we're having a conversation, we're giving them knowledge, like it's fresh knowledge that we're giving them. But when you're experts, you're people already in the industry, you're already hands-on involved in the industry and practicing everything. So it's better to, like, have a hands-on experience. It's quicker as well
That's
to
great.
learn that.
So does hiring a Scrum Master enough to implement Agile? Because in certain circumstances, there has been observations among colleagues of mine who are working in different organizations, that once the leadership hires a Scrum Master, they assume that just like in a blink of an eye, Agile will be implemented throughout the organization. So what's your take on that?
Like, I think over the years, like whether it be Naveed Bhai or whether it be anyone in this society of Agile, what we always preach and what we always believe, Agile is a mindset. And we always say that agility is a mindset. It's not one person, it's not two person, it's not the environment that you're going to create. It's being true to the mindset of Agile. If you think a person can come and make the team Agile, that's never going to happen. The team the organization first needs to have that mindset of agility. They need to give the team that flexibility to first make them self-organizing, then bring someone on top in order to monitor that self-organizing team. But if you think someone outside is going to come as a Scrum Master and automatically fix your team and make them agile, that's not how it's going to happen. It's not like, that's a mentality of a project manager, that someone who's going to come and control the team. That's not what happens in a Scrum Master. Scrum Master is a person who's part of your team, who learns with the team, who adapts with the team, and makes the team functional. So it has to be someone who knows the team. It can't be some external person that you just have hired to fix your team and expect it to be fixed.
That's really great. That's really great to hear. And it's a very clear perspective on it. Now, this has been also observed. And most of the questions that I shared with you, I consulted with a few colleagues of mine. I told them this webinar is happening and that I'll be talking to an expert. So I wanted to gauge their experience. So what another perspective was given to me was that it's always assumed that in Agile, we have a Scrum Master, we have a product owner, and we have the development team. So what is exactly the role of project management office in it? When we already have these three teams working in constant collaboration, what's the purpose of project management office? Because it is always assumed to be a traditional department that is doing the job of a supervisor, most likely. Somebody who is
Exactly.
watching and, just humming the strings of the puppets. Most likely, this is what people assume. So what is your take on the project management office and Agile?
See, when Agile is introduced, the Office of Project Management is closed because we say that we are self-organizing. We'll organize ourselves. We do not need someone telling us deadlines. We do not need someone monitoring us. But yes, we have a supervisor, a facilitator. Like what the term that we use for a Scrum Master is a facilitator. Like his role is not to boss you around, but is to facilitate you while you're in a problem. You have a technical problem, you have a managerial problem, you have some conceptual problem. So he or she should facilitate you throughout that process. So the Office of Management is supposed to be held by the Scrum Master and only by the Scrum Master. It's not like you have a project manager and then you have a Scrum Master. That's not the way. Mostly like in the trainings that I have given in to startups in Pakistan as well and to established companies as well is to make them understand that if you have a project manager, train him to be a Scrum Master, because I think that's easier rather than hiring someone external and then keeping the project manager over there. It's like teach your project manager to be a Scrum Master to facilitate rather than being a dictator. Be a part of the team and facilitate your team while keeping the deadlines and the budget and cost in mind. So have like hybrid role of being a project manager because that's what you're trained to be, and since Scrum Master is a new role, you're adapting towards it and that's the goal towards it, then you adapt yourself towards it.
Okay, thank you so much. But there is also another question that is stemming out of this statement. Mostly it is assumed that the Scrum Master is supposed to be someone who has had all the technical knowledge, development, and tech and DevOps, most likely. They should be aware of it. In project management, it is assumed that a person who is good at management, somebody who is good at maintaining deadlines, managing people, doing people management, is someone who is doing project management. It's okay if they do not have the technical knowledge. They should be good at liaising. So what is your take on that?
See, in a technical team, and especially like, when you want an agile team, you need someone who's technical. Like, even if you look at JDs now, like, I don't know, like the JDs are, because I've like worked as a Scrum Master as well. But when you look at the JDs of Scrum Master, they say strong technical background, because you cannot manage a technical team without having a technical knowledge. That makes no sense. Like, how can someone who has no tech background and it's just people manages IT professionals? It makes no sense. And I think that's where traditional project management fails, and that's why we need proper Scrum Masters, and that's why there's a role of Scrum Master who is supposed to have the technical knowledge, because he or she, if she knows the technical knowledge, then she can only guide the team. Okay, this is how you meet deadlines, this is how we will actually achieve our goal, and this is how we'll meet our deadlines. But a generic I don't think so. Even like now, a generic project manager has any place in a tech team.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, stemming out of it is another question, and that is the role of product owner in the system of Agile. So we do not have a concept of product owner when we are doing Waterfall. We have teams, dedicated teams are working collaboratively on a project, and then they deliver collaboratively. Things are handed over to the operations and maintenance, and that's how the entire cycle works. But in Agile, we have the concept of the product owner. So does the product owner is only over there to supervise the entire project? Should the product owner be having technical knowledge as well? Or is product owner the person who is actually guiding the entire dev team step by step on how to deliver the project from the scratch till the end? So how do you define the role of the product owner and its significance in the entire Agile model, and how it differentiates from the Waterfall and makes it more effective?
See, like if you look at the name of it, like the origin of it, product owner, it's the person who owns the product. It's the synonym of your customer. So like you have to treat your product owner like your customer. Like they're the people who are giving your requirements. And if you're making a product yourself, then you're the product owner. You're the one who's giving all the functional requirements, the core functionality of your system. So one way or the other, ideally a product owner should be someone who has a technical background, but most of the time, like, you know, if you're dealing with customers and clients, they do not have, they may know how the output will look like. Okay, the screen should be like this should be shown, but they don't know the back end of the stuff. They don't understand what is the working or the technicality of the tool or the language, the complexity of the language or the complexity of the tool, or how all this will, you know, come together in making it a reality. So ideally, I would suppose that you treat a product owner how you would treat your client. And if you are the one developing the product, then you are the person, then you treat yourself as the client and be as involved in the product as involved you would be if you're a client. And if you look at the agile model, then that means you're very much involved, because you have iterations, you have sprints. Every sprint, the product owner is coming, he's checking the product, he's seeing if everything is working correctly or not. They're pretty much invested in the system. So they're the people controlling the success of your product. Because if they say that the product is not up to the mark, then the product is not up to the mark, because they're the client, they're the people who own the product, and at the end of the day, you're making the product for them. So I wouldn't say that they're the ones running the show, but they're the people who you have to please, because without their approval, your project is not complete.
So we can conclude by this, or we can take the crux of this is, as the product owner can or cannot be highly equipped in technical knowledge.
Yes.
They're coming
yes.
up with an idea of a product, and it is okay for them to have legs when it comes to technical knowledge.
Technical, yes.
But
I think it's real. It's real.
But being the part of the development team and the Scrum Master, they need to be very much highly equipped with technical knowledge.
Yes.
Because they are the people who are going to design the vision of the product owner and then deliver it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So one of the most intriguing concept, or what would you say, one of the most intriguing questions that have been for me and my colleagues who are working as in agile models is, how do you promote it amongst your teams to become self-organized? How do you make them understand the importance of being self-organized? And how should they stop depending on a project management office for making them organized?
Again, I'll go back. Agile is a mindset. Like, you have to agree as a team that from today, we're going to be an agile team, and we're going to be self-organizing. We're going to meet our goals, and you're going to be committed to the project that you're fulfilling. So, and obviously the organization has to, give rewards for that. They have to acknowledge people's self-involvement, and they have to encourage that self-learning environment, that they should reward people who are doing trainings. They should reward people who are actually spending time meeting deadlines, completing sprints, getting the project shipped out on time. So there should be a reward system as well in the beginning, because obviously when you're bringing someone out of that 9 to 5 mindset to telling them that this is a task and you have to complete it at any cost. You have to have that encouraging environment, that you encourage self-learning, you encourage self-organizing team. And I think once you're at that level and that maturity of development, you can see that clocking in 9 to 5 and working self-organized is better than, just coming in and coming out and not getting things done. And I think self-organization also is a characteristics, like, some people are self-motivated to begin with, and some people need incentives. So I think your Scrum Master needs to, this is where the Scrum Master comes in. He or she has to facilitate the team in a way to make them self-organizing by rewarding them, by encouraging them, by, if they're motivated by money, put bonuses in place to encourage them. If they're motivated, like, you have to identify what are the outliners for motivation. If promotion is something, for example, if someone likes to be promoted and they're going to work hard to be promoted, then why not? And like some of the times I've seen, like, this is actually, I advised a team, I'll tell their name as well, Binex. So when I gave them the training, I told them that, shift the role of Scrum Master. Like, one day, someone, for one sprint, there is one Scrum Master, and the next week there's someone else as a Scrum Master. So encourage them by giving them motivation that, okay, this sprint you work well, next sprint you will be the Scrum Master. You'll have the authority to rotate and be part of the managerial team as well. Keep them in, because, like, people like to be promoted. They like to see the managerial position as well. So, this is something incentive wise, as a Scrum Master has to see what motivates their team.
Okay, so thank you so much. That was really insightful. In a hybrid model where project management office and agile are working hand in hand, What do you suggest can be the measures taken in order to ensure that the end product is delivered to the optimum capacity?
I think with I've been teaching software since 2012 and had my own company, seen projects happen, trained companies. With my own experience with different type of projects and different type of teams is that you can never predict the success of a product. Like you can try your best that you achieve following all the methods, going according to sprint planning, following all the retrospective meetings and everything, but you cannot really say that a hybrid model is the best model, or pure agile is going to give you full success, or w agile is going to give you full success. It's just hit and trial, because with software it's never, no two softwares are alike. So I wouldn't say a definite answer for it. Like if you say this is going to be the solution, this is going to be the solution. Like I don't have this perfect solution for the perfect team, for the perfect project.
Okay, it's a humble request to Mr. Aftab to kindly mute their mic. Thank you. Okay, so how do you think, because we are talking about a hybrid model where project management and agile are working hand in hand, how do you think project management office can contribute in making the agile methodology more effective and more seamlessly integrated into the day-to-day operations?
I think they'd have to opt, or they have to merge their roles with agile. Like project manager becomes scrum master, and all the managerial roles have to fit inside the scrum model. They can't run a separate office and expect the team to be self-organizing. They can't be dictating requirements, they can't be dictating deadlines and tell the team to be self-organizing, because by self-organizing you mean you trust your team. So I think you have to establish the trust between the team and the management that you're going to meet the deadlines without them having constant reviews over you and deadlines and keep pushing you to meet those deadlines.
So until unless our teams are not self-organized, we can assume that there is a role for project management office.
Yes. Until unless you don't have a team of experts, because I think what I've seen mostly going wrong is that everyone thinks they can be an agile team, that every team can be an agile team. I think that's
absolutely
false.
in agreement with your
that
statement.
every team cannot be an agile team, and that's where agile fails. When people who don't have the expertise, that don't have the training, they start off with agile, that's when agile fails. And you still need that transition. Until you have made that transition into a pure agile team, you still need that management office to monitor you.
Okay, great, thank you. One last question from my side before we move on to the audience and take their question is that does self-organized also mean that the teams are self-accountable? So coming back to the whole point, accountability, where does the concept of accountability fall when teams are self-organized? We are trusting our team, but how should we keep them accountable for what they're doing?
Actually, like if you look at the philosophy of agile and behind the self-organizing thing is the product ownership. When we say that the team is self-organizing, we say that they have product ownership, that they have ownership towards the code they're writing. They have ownership to the product that they are developing. Since they have ownership, they're accountable. Since their name is going in with the development of the product, they're accountable for the contribution that they have in the team. Because like when I don't know if you have worked with, you did say you have worked with Agile. So when we break down our story cards into features and we put features into tasks and we assign each task to a developer, we're giving accountability. We're giving that task association accountability to the developer.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Maryam. We have a question from one of the participants, and their question is that what is the future of Waterfall in Pakistan IT industry?
I think you joined in late. We started off with Waterfall. I think Waterfall is still till date very viable, very accurate. Depending upon the type of project that you have. Like, for example, if you're making a management system, we still use Waterfall. Depending upon the level of skills that your team has, you need to rely on already existing expertise. Waterfall is still very much viable, very much usable. So till date, and not even till date, I think even in the future, there will be millions of projects in future that would still be, and millions of teams that would still till date be using Waterfall. It's not obsolete, it's still there. Be it Waterfall, be it RAD, be it Spiral, all these life cycles are still there. Depending upon the type of project that you have to make the right decision.
Okay, so there's one question as well. Many organizations, many colleagues, many people who we work with assume that Agile is something very new to the IT industry. However, if we go back to tracing to Scrum Alliance, we discover that it is a concept that has been in the IT industry, especially for project management, for a very long time. So, what do you, in your experience, see the reason behind this gap of understanding? Like, why do people are assuming Agile to be still to be a new thing in the IT industry, especially in Pakistan, where a lot of organizations are working on the Agile model? They're already working on it, but still there's a concept here that it is something new and it is difficult to come up with and it's difficult to work with, and people will have a lot of problems in getting us accustomed to it. So what is the lag? What is causing this gap of communication?
I think because Agile Manifesto was made in 2001. It was a team of, it was a conference, it was a team of experts, people who had been developers for ages, and they said, there is a need for things to happen in a new way because the current methodology is not up to the mark of what we want to be developed. The reason why I think it's still new in Pakistan is because I wouldn't say it's still new. I would say people have been resistant towards it because they have been so comfortable in the way software has been developed that they find it difficult to change, to make that transition. And unfortunately, there haven't been very public case studies of companies that went agile and were extremely successful. Like, you would see small companies or companies going agile in private and still not sharing their case studies with us, that how they went agile and what was the success factor of agile. Because my part of research, I wanted to collect data for Pakistan to see how many companies, to find a big company that was actually following agile by the book and was successful. And unfortunately, till date, I've been in Pakistan since 2018 and I haven't found a company who is willing to come up and share that data.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Maryam. Now we'll be taking questions from the audience. And it's a humble request to please float in your questions related to the topic of transformation from waterfall to agile. And we have another question, that is, what is good for startups, waterfall or agile? While they can't invest money in expensive agile transformation training, as there is huge gap between industry and academia.
If I would if I could read the question again, what is good for startups, waterfall or agile? While they can't invest money in expensive agile transformation trainings, as there is a huge gap between, you have to classify what startup is, because if I make a startup, then is that really a startup? Because we are a team of experts, then we can follow agile and there won't be a cost associated with the cost of transformation into agile. But if you're undergrad students who are just getting out of undergrad and they haven't really had that hands-on experience, then I would still suggest go for a hybrid model, go for W Agile. Pick and choose, don't go 100% Agile. No, start with what you know and incrementally learn for better. Because one way or the other, you have to do that transformation. Start off with as little as cost as you can and then move up as you can.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm redirecting towards audience once again. If there is any other question, please float it, or else we will wind it up because this is Ramadan and we are closing up towards the time of iftar as well. So if there is any question, please float it. We'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll wind up. Okay, Dr. Maryam, I received a question in private that is, what are the key performance indicators when it comes to agile implementation?
What are the key performance? Like, first of all, even if you, before talking about KPIs, you know, you need to educate. First of all, you need to have the mindset that you're going to become an agile team. Then you need the team to accept that mindset and follow those through. And only then you can look at the performance of your team and measure the success criteria of where everything is going. But that's how I'd say you'd have to start.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maryam. That was really insightful of you. And thank you so much for giving so much time in the holy month of Ramadan. I'm sure you are fasting and it's really generous to speak so much. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope to have another webinar with you sometime really soon. Thank you everyone who have joined. Have a great day. Ramzan Mubarak. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.